I'm going to attempt to do a video, or rather 5 linked videos, on my 50 favourite American songs. Now, a quick caveat, I have written this list off the top of my head, so it could well be after I've done the final video and done all 50 songs that I immediately think of another 50 songs. So my get out clause is this is my first favourite 50 songs, and in the first list of 50 I may well end up leaving out some really crucial important things, but that's just the way it is. I'm not going to try and rank them, but what I think I'll do after I've done the last video, I will attempt to do a final ranking of my absolute favourite, maybe 10 or 20, but we'll see anyway. So these are not going to come in any order. I pulled them off the shelf really in the order that I found them. So at number 50, I'm going to go with Des Shannon and his immortal song Runaway, which I first heard back in probably sort of the mid to late 80s when the Travelling Wilburys came out, and they were talking about Des Shannon a lot. Even though he didn't ever join the Wilburys, he was quite closely linked to them by the friendship circle that existed among them all. And I didn't hear the original of Runaway for a while. I heard the cover version, which I think maybe the Wilburys did a cover version of it. The original version is much better. It's much more haunting, has that really strange ghostly... Now what is it? It's not a theremin, is it? It's a strange instrument that Des Shannon's writing partner invented. It's just a great lost in the wilderness kind of song. Des Shannon's vocal is just really haunting. He's like a wolf crying at night, really. Incredible atmosphere, just a wonderful composition as well. Just a great song, you know, an absolute all-time classic rock and roll song from one of the greats, Des Shannon, Runaway. Right, a complete contrast to that, a bit of yacht rock, really, proto yacht rock. We'll go with the Dobie Brothers and What a Fool Believes, which is one of the smoothest yacht rock type tunes you'll ever hear. First heard this one in about 1995, 96. I'll always remember I was working in a particularly terrible temp job at the time in Leeds, and I was having to drive through dreadful rush hour traffic every morning in order to do, essentially it was a data input job. It was really soul destroying. But I discovered this song right about that time, and I had it on a cassette in the car, and I would just listen to it over and over again. Just the glamour of it and the smoothness of it, it was just everything that my life wasn't at the time. Great lead vocal from your man here, Michael McDonald, who later turned up on Steely Dan records, of course, and Little Feat albums, and he turned up everywhere, didn't he, for a while? He was everywhere, but I thought I would have that one. I couldn't resist, really. Dobie Brothers, I'm not a huge fan of the band, but I do really, really love that song. So there we go. At number 49, we will have What a Fool Believes. And at number 48, this is an artist and a record that I very rarely talk about, but ETA James, and the title track from this brilliant album is Tell Mama, and it's just so gutsy, so vibrant. ETA James and this particular song was one of the first sort of blues songs I ever heard, really. It was on a CD that I bought back in the early 90s in Leeds, and it's just so gutsy, and her performance is just incredible. I guess you could say, you know, is she a soul artist? Is she blues? Is she R&B? She's sort of a bit of all of them, really, but Tell Mama is just, it's so gutsy. And then one of her other songs, Rod Stewart did a cover version of, I forget which one. Anyway, yes, thought I would have that. So Tell Mama by ETA James at 47. 46, we'll go with the title track from Zevon's album Excitable Boy, which is a brilliant song. It has a real pumping piano-led arrangement. It sounds really upbeat. It sounds like a really happy song, but of course it tells the story of a psychopath. You know, boy who is born a psychopath, essentially, does all sorts of terrible things at school, gets sent away to a young offenders institute or whatever, comes out and immediately commits a heinous murder. You know, a really, really dark song, but just a great catchy arrangement, and really showed Warren Zevon's amazing individuality as a songwriter and as a performer. Excitable Boy. And then another one, another great American songwriter coming in at number 45. And I could have had any number of songs by Randy Newman. There are 2 songs off this record which could easily have made the list. I've chosen one of them. This is Little Criminals, which came out in 77, I think. And this one was a bit of a slightly sort of smooth album for him. I think it was produced by Ted Templeman, wasn't it? Oh no, it wasn't. It was Russ Teitelman co-produced. Anyway, two tracks on here which I totally love. I could have chosen Baltimore on side 2, which is an absolute classic, but we'll go with a song on side 1, which is just so beautiful, Jolly Coppers on Parade, which I think is quite a dark song again, really. I think it's about somebody as a child watching the Jolly Coppers on parade. They're coming down the street, they're coming right down the middle. Look how they keep the beat while they're as blue as the ocean, how the sun shines down, how their feet hardly touch the ground. Jolly Coppers on Parade. I sort of interpret it really as a song which questions the role of the police in society, maybe, and how when you're a child you can look up to them and see them as jolly coppers on parade, but maybe in the context of, I don't know, 1960s America, 1970s America. What were the police used for and how did they behave? I don't know, I'm not a big expert on American social history, but I do see the song, as usual with Randy Newman, as having a potentially political, satirical kind of side to it. But it's just a wonderful tune, it's very moving, and it really conveys that sense that a child has of just looking at the world through innocent eyes, even though what they're looking at is maybe not necessarily all that innocent. So we'll have Randy Newman, Jolly Coppers on Parade. So we have number 45 next. Not sure if I've got my numbering wrong. Wanted to include a track by Ry Cooder. Now, he did mostly do cover versions in his career. He did do some good original songs, but he's done some tremendous cover versions. The one I wanted to highlight, which is a great favourite, is from his Bop Till You Drop album. It's from his Bop Till You Drop album, which came out in 1979, and it's a song by Arthur Alexander, the great R&B singer-songwriter who wrote one of the songs on the first Beatles album, didn't he? It was Anna, wasn't it? But his song Go Home Girl, and the original is great as well. I don't have a copy of it, unfortunately, but Ry Cooder does a really brilliant version of it, and he used to perform it live, and there's a live version of it that you can watch on YouTube. He just does a great job. He writes a kind of blues lick that's not in the original song. It's just really good sort of slide guitar. I mean, it's Ry Cooder. He's got that amazing guitar touch, and just some great R&B singing on here. Just a really, really good treatment of the song, I think. As I said, it's a fantastic song anyway, but I really do like Ry's version. So we will have that, Go Home Girl, by Ry Cooder. Right, coming in at number 44, I can't quite believe this is going in, because this is an artist that I've never been into, and I'm still not really into him all that much, but I do really like his first album, which I picked up on vinyl a couple of years ago, and I'm going to put it in the list. Why the hell not? In fact, it's his first ever song, really, in terms of, when you sequence his tracks from start to finish, looking at the albums. Bruce Springsteen, from his first album, Greetings from Asbury Park, NJ, you have the great track Blinded by the Light, which originally I would have known the Manfred Mann's Earth Band version of that. In fact, I have that on one of their albums, and it wasn't a song that particularly grabbed me. Their version of it is all right, I guess. But when I heard Bruce's version, I was really taken with it. It's got that sort of very improvisatory stream of consciousness quality to it, very Bob Dylan-esque, really. But I just love the carnival-esque sort of quality of it. It's very sunny, it's very optimistic, and I really like his vocal performance, actually. I think it was a song that was at least partly improvised, or, at least he kind of wrote it without thinking too much about it, lots of automatic writing going on. I just like the performance on the record. All this album, actually, I really like. It lacks the bombast, which I don't really like in a lot of Bruce Springsteen. I tried to listen to the Born to Run album again a while ago, and I couldn't even get through it, to be honest with you. I really do struggle with Bruce Springsteen. Not this album and not this song. So I thought, why not? Let's have it in my list of 50 favourite American songs. So Blinded by the Light from Greetings from Asbury Park, NJ. Right, this next one, a real favourite of mine, from an album that is a real favourite, and at some point I need to do a revisiting instalment on this record. So I really do think it's one of the great American debut albums. Suzanne Vega, herself, titled debut album, which came out, I think, in 85. And the song from this album is Marlena on the Wall, which is on side 1, which is just an amazing song. I think there's various readings of the song. I've heard various readings of it, quite dark readings. It's maybe a song about sexual assault, some kind of coming-of-age song anyway, a girl who's coming to terms with something, I think. I don't want to delve too deeply into it here, but It's got a very haunting sound. The whole album actually has a haunting sound. And given that it was made slap bang in the middle of the 1980s, she does really well, not to bury her arrangements under 80s production, which she maybe started to do a little bit on future albums, but I think perfectly judged on this record. Great production, really nice guitar playing, wonderful melody line. I just think she sings it so well, and it's just a very haunting song. So we'll have Marlena on the Wall by Suzanne Vega from the debut. If you haven't heard this album, check it out. Right, complete contrasts for number 41. And this is a song which I've always been really fond of. Well, not always. I first heard it at some point back in the 90s. So this is Dr. John from his album In the Right Place, which is one of the 2 or 3 albums he made with the Meters back in the early 1970s. One of his great funk albums. This is the one that contains, you've got the title track, obviously, Right Place, Wrong Time, but the track I'm going to highlight is not particularly a funky one, and I first heard it on the Dr. John, Best of the Dr. John CD, which is the first thing that I ever bought from him, but it's the song Such a Night, which is very quirky, very lovable. It's a very simple kind of song. It's a sort of old-timey song. It was written by him, but it's almost like a kind of old standard, and it has a sort of tippy-tappy kind of tap dancing thing going on, like a cane, making a sort of tapping sound on the floor. It's just very old-time, essentially, but just a very lovable tune, very straightforward, quite sentimental. You could even call it cornball, really, but it's almost deliberately so, I think. Dr. John, obviously, he had that funky side to him, the sort of New Orleans swampy side, but he was also plugged into older musical traditions. He used to record American songbook albums, and he did have quite a large range of stuff that he liked to do, really, even though it was all rooted in American stuff. But that is a great song. As I said, it's just really lovable, and possibly one of my Desert Island discs. Absolutely love it. So check that out if you've not heard it already. Such a Night by Dr. John. And we'll finish number 40 with a great song which I used to play live with my band The Bootstraps when they still existed. This is Jackie Des Shannon and her fantastic song When You Walk in the Room. And Jackie Des Shannon had an amazing career. I was just reading up about her. She did, just a decades-long career of writing her own songs, singing other people's songs as well. She just was incredibly prolific. And I suppose she's not a name now that maybe resonates too massively among record collectors, but she did some fantastic stuff. This record is not particularly representative, I don't think, of her work. There's some stuff on here which I'm not too fussed about. There are some quite nice songs. Brighton Hill is one of hers. Love Will Find a Way is on here too. But I do think that's a great song. When You Walk in the Room, it just has a real kind of rolling quality to it. It's just a love song, really, but so well written and really well performed by Jackie on her original recording of it. So there we go, from 50 to 40, and I'm not necessarily going to do these videos consecutively, so there might be a couple of other videos from me before I do the next instalment of this, but stay tuned and we will get through the 50, and then after that I'll attempt to do my ranking of the top 10, but we'll see anyway. Right, that will do for now. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.